we might get it out just to because there may be exercises and stuff. I might kind of start. Is that good? I mean, I'd like to do that so that we're ready to go. At least get you kind of started on what we might work on. Hey,
I didn't bring my thumb pick. Is that all right?
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong way to play, but there's right and wrong ways to do very specific things. But you can just turn it into what you want it to be. We're getting there, I guess. Are we ready? Are we going?
We are ready, and thank you for being here today, Richard. For all our guitar students here today and those that are online, welcome Richard Smith, who flew all the way here, I believe, right?
Well, I'll fill you in on that in a bit.
Wonderful. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Caroline. All right, folks. Thanks for being here. I'm going to finger pick you a few things. If you want to, I'll give you a demo of some of the stuff that I play live at gigs and kind of where I come from musically, my general background. It's always good to study as many different things as possible, but I kind of started on Chet Atkins and Jerry Reed and finger picking, which is mostly a lot of what I do. Play a few tunes here. There's one called East Wind. It's a Jerry Reed tune. It's a good warmer-upper for me. Thank you. Thank you, folks. Were you waiting out there till I'd finished that song? That's very polite. You needn't have done that, but that's all right. Thank you, folks. Well, I kicked off there with a little Jerry Reed tune. How many people heard the name Jerry Reed before? One. All right. You kind of look like a country guy. Maybe. A little bit. You would have heard that. You would have heard his name. I'll play a couple more Jerry Reed tunes while I'm at it. Jerry Reed kind of is right in line with the Chet Atkins and Merle Travis. The thumb picking, I did a little bit of that just now. Hey, folks. All right. All right. I'll give myself a little more here. That one was called East Wind. All right. Play you one called Down Home here. Kind of it's almost got some like Ray Charles type piano licks. You can hear who Jerry Reed had been listening to. See if you can pick out the kind of bluesy Ray Charles piano licks. Thank you. Were you spotting the blues piano licks in there? Are we all pure guitarists, or how many multi-instrumentalist keyboard players have we got in here as well? Keyboard players, all guitar players? Did everyone bring an axe with them? And if you did, then get it out, because I'll start asking questions soon and giving you exercises and whatnot. I'll play a couple more tunes and talk a little bit about what I've done. And if you're at home watching or wherever you are, you can try this out as well. All those watching online. All right, here's one called Mr. Lucky. I'll do you a couple more and then I'll start talking a little bit about what I'm doing. Mr. Lucky, another Jerry Reed tune. All right, thank you, folks. All right, one more reed tune to give you a feel for what he's doing. That was called Mr. Lucky. The previous one, Down Home. The previous one to that was East Wind. I'll play you one here called Struttin', a happy tune from the 70s. Are we good? Aha, there we go. We can do this.
Yes.
There we go. Is it that one?
Yeah.
All right. But now it's in the way of my face. At least for this guy. All right, here's one called Struttin'. It's a happy kind of groove. All right, thank you, folks. Some Jerry Reed tunes there, some finger picking. How many people have had a go at finger picking in here so far? I'm figuring most of you are probably looking to be band players, playing in ensembles, which is great, playing an ensemble and playing rhythm and lead, and maybe occasional bit of finger picking. How many people are doing gigs right now and playing out? One or two of you? One? All right, you know what? That, to me, is the first goal. Get yourself a regular gig somewhere. If you can just pick up a gig, that will be, I mean, you know, of course, I know how the 50-year-old professional musicians are. They'll go, hey, what's this guy doing? He's just out of college. He's got my gig. That's what they'll be like. Well, some of them anyway. But no, that's a good thing to aim for, is get yourself a gig, create your own gigs. Go into a local bar, local cafe, local whatever it is, and be looking, you know, figure where the people are. But what that does more than anything is it gives you a goal. It gives you a reason to practice. It gives you a reason to come up with new material. It gives you a deadline to get it together and say, all right, I've got a show now and I've got to bring it. So it really will make you practice. It will make you nervous and it will make you worry, which is not great, but it's sometimes what you need, you know. So how many people have worked on a solo show? Because for me, that's mostly what I do. You know, I moved to Nashville in 2000, having played with my brothers for about 6 years. And I wasn't even sure exactly what I was going to do, whether I was going to do studio work or whether I was going to be a sideman. I just knew it was going to be an exciting place to be. Any of the main cities, Nashville, LA, New York, Chicago. You guys are in LA, here's great. Lots of music, lots of people to play with, lots of great musicians. But I didn't quite know what I was going to do. But I knew what I could do straight away was play a solo gig, which means that I'm not relying on anyone else, no other band members, no nothing like that. I had a self-contained show, which is very handy to have in times when you're not working as a sideman or doing anything else. It's nice to have that show so that you can just get a gig, right? It's nice to be able to work if that's what you want to do as a performing musician. I don't know what you guys are looking to do, because there's all kinds of different ways of doing it. You know, there's still guys out there doing TV and film work and staying in the studio and creating library music. There's studio guys. That's kind of not like it was at all. I actually had the pleasure of meeting several times and getting to know Tommy Tedesco, who was one of the founders of this place. I met Tommy when I was about 14 years old. He came and stayed with me and my folks. This is about 1985. This was about the time, if I am right, that he saw the writing on the wall as far as being a studio musician. That was all 50s, 60s, 70s, and up into the 80s. But I think he saw it coming to an end around that time. Am I right? And he started teaching and doing other kinds of work and thinking, well, I've had enough of doing, well, I mean, the studio work was still there for him a little bit, but he was thinking, I want to make music under my own name instead, which is a whole different deal. Rather than working for someone else, now you're promoting your own name. Anyway, where I'm going with that is just finding different kinds of work. You may end up doing something completely different than you set out to do, but you know, you kind of follow the path. I wasn't sure, the point I was making was I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to do, but I just ended up doing what I could do, which was a solo show, and that's kind of what I've gone with. As far as just doing gigs, I'll open shows for different people. I do a lot of solo shows. I do have a trio show. We just finished about 3 weeks of gigs. But mostly I'm playing solo. It's a good thing to be able to do that, to be self-contained, so that you're just relying on yourself and you can eat where you want and stop where you want, and you got no one to blame but yourself. It's kind of how that works. So Part of that, of course, is finger picking, which is what I was just doing. Whether you're a solo fingerstyle jazz guy, a classical guy, a folky, whether you're backing yourself up as a singer, doing the singer-songwriter thing, or doing what I'm doing. How many people have tried finger picking before? All right. And how far have you got? Let's see those guitars in those hands. Here's where I've come from and kind of where I'm going. If anyone wants to give me any demos as to what they're doing, what have you guys done? You're at the front. I can see what you're doing. Show me roughly where you are with your right hand, because that's really what it's all about. All right, so what we're going to do, so there's your basic finger picking patterns, and there's what to practice and where you're going to go. In fact, what I might do is I'll send you all 40 exercises. 40 exercises. This is something I've got online. 40 thumb independence exercises. I'll send that to somebody that can send that to all you guys. If that's good, give me an email address and I'll send it. And what we do, see, there's different ways of approaching it. There's the Joan Baez kind of pattern picking. Where you got this is going, and this is in between. You know, the fingers are in between. But what that will get you so far, but it won't necessarily get you the independence that you want. If you're going to do something like you want this to have its own brain, and these to have their own brain. You want these to be separated. So what I did was I got a are we good? I've brought this down a little bit more, get that out of the way. What I've done, which is, I guess a few other people have done this, is I've come up with this little method, especially with these 40 independence exercises, that I'm going to take you through right now. In their basic elements, I'm going to start off with something real simple. How many of you have got guitars? All of you? Some of you? You might just have a go at this. If they're all electric, that's actually better. That means we're not making so much noise. So, real simple. First 4 guys, I can see you, and you can watch this later on. The idea is the thumb is, we'll put it scientifically, the thumb is the constant and the fingers are the variable, because here's your band and here's your melody kind of thing. So we're going to play just 4/4 on the bass. Start off real simple, and we'll gradually add and then get a little bit more complex to where you're going to need good coordination between your thumb and fingers. I say I don't know what kind of level any of you guys are on. Some of you may have studied classical guitar, and I have no idea what you've all studied, but this is just a little method to finding the groove here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Real simple. Just start with a 4/4. Then we're going to add a melody note, so to speak. We're going to add with our index finger, top string. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just on 1 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Simple enough. Okay, now we're going to play on 2 and 4. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Yeah, I can see you. Look at that. We got the trifecta here. Les Paul, a Strat, and a Telly. 2 Les Pauls. Yeah. 3, 4. Okay, now we're going to play on 1 and the and after 2. So it's going to be 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. All right, let's play on 2 and the and after 3. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Good. 1. Simple enough. 3 and 4. Right, now we're going to play this. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. We're going to play. Actually, let's play an E major. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. So it's 1, 2, and 3, and 4. We're going to play the E string, the B string, and then we're going to play the A flat there on the 3rd string. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And this is just keeping a 4/4 beat. 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3. Good. You all getting it? In reverse. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Simple enough. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Good. 1. Okay, let's use all 3 fingers now. Index, middle, and ring. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Backwards. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Okay. Simple enough? Are you all getting it? Okay, now what we're going to do on beats 2 and 4, we're going to play the 4th string. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to do the same exercise, but let's play that just on the top string. So that same rhythm, 1, 2, and 3, and 4. But we're going to play beats 2 and 4 with our thumb on the 4th string. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Good. Now we're going to play that same melody as well. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. But same again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we go. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And backwards. Okay, so again, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and again. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. 1, 2, and backwards. Okay, now on beat 3, we're going to play the 5th string. 1, 2, 3, 4, and again. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Backwards. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Is everyone good with that? Are we all getting it? And you can go up and down the scale. I'm playing 3 against 2. Yeah. So we got this. This is playing 3. This is playing 3. And this is playing 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. It's going to be. Is that making sense? So it's going to be bread and butter, bread and butter, bread and butter, bread and butter. Then bread and butter, and backwards. Then you can do it alternating. Is everyone getting that? Anyone struggling with that? It's just the next thing to get to. Then you go 3 with your thumb. So this is doing 3, that's doing 2. And all this is doing is just giving you some coordination with the right hand. Once you've got all that stuff, there's so much you can do with that. Any of these tunes that I'm playing, all the basics are there. Any questions on that so far? Nothing. All right, good. Well, I'll send you those exercises anyway. I think a lot of you, if not all of you, will have all of that, but they're good just to refer to every now and then, just to make sure you're on top of stuff. Looks like you've all finger picked some before. All right, let me see. I'll play you an old standard here. All right. Thank you. A little Georgia on my mind. I'll tune up. Who recognized that tune? There you go. Hoagie Carmichael. And then it's been recorded probably about as many times as any other song, I would imagine. Georgia on my mind. I stole a lot of Jerry Reed licks from that, out of that one. I'm sure he stole a lot from Ray Charles. And I'll put a little bit of Joe Pass in there as well. Any questions on anything I just did?
That last lick you just played.
The last one.
Like the very last one.
Yeah. That's like a banjo roll kind of a thing. That's something that is very specifically guitaristic. You can play those notes on another instrument, but you wouldn't get the same effect because of the tone of the open string. Those kind of things. I can slow that down for you if you like, if you're filming. Let me see if I can do it slowly. There they are. Should be able to get that. Kind of banjo roll. How many people have tried those kinds of things? Like you got typical banjo roll, where basically, as a rule of thumb, it's like a broken chord that repeats. Typically, you don't play the same string twice in a row. You never play two consecutive notes on the same string. So like something like an Earl Scruggs. Those are the typical kind of banjo rolls that are transferred onto the guitar. Then you've got what they call chromatic or melodic banjo. Bela Fleck's the most notable guy these days doing that. Or campanella is kind of the classical guitar term. Kind of, it's similar, but call these open string arpeggios. So here's a G scale you would normally play. Or, you do more than one note on one string after the other. But here it's 6th, 5th, 6th, 5th, 4th, 5th, 4th, 3rd, 4th, 2nd, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, 2nd, 1st. Just another way of playing a scale where you never play two consecutive notes on the same string. So it gives you that effect. The open string stuff. That you can have a lot of fun with that. So that's very much a banjo thing to do. How many people messed with that? I'll tell you what, I've got some of those as well. I've got a whole page of that stuff. I'll send that with all the exercises so that you guys... how many people have tried playing fiddle tunes? Fiddle tunes are a fun way of getting around and learning your scales and learning melody and practicing good up, down, right hand technique. Nobody's... And so I've done that. Just a different way of playing it, obviously in a different register, but I'm not playing two consecutive strings, not two consecutive notes on the same string. So it's just a different way of making it sound. So I've got that tabbed out. I've got various exercises for you to try out. The trick is in the right hand. How many people are mostly playing with a pick? Hopefully you're all finger picking some. You don't necessarily need to use a thumb pick. I mean, I can play something like this, like a typical Merle Travis. Without a thumb pick, it'll sound. It just gives me that extra attack. And especially on steel strings, it will, just give it a little extra snap. I'm playing these nylons right now, but it's handy for the sound. But if you're used to playing with a bare thumb, then do that, or do as many different things as you can. Really play with a flat pick, play with a thumb pick, play with a bare thumb, because that will just give you a different sound. Sometimes I might play with a bare thumb anyway, depending on what I'm doing. It could be a recording where I'm backing someone up and the thumb pick is just kind of pushing it through a little hard, and it needs a little softer approach, like a bossa nova, where I might be like. I might want. I might want just a little bit of a softer bass, especially if there's already a bass player. I don't want to be getting in his way, kind of thing, or clashing with what he's doing. So it all depends on the situation, how many instruments there are. That might determine whether you're using a pick or not. All right, any questions? I'll play another one if you like. Oh, you got some. You look like something was about to come out.
I was going to ask you about what thumb pick you use, because I've tried a few and I have not found one that I enjoy playing.
I think the trick is to stick with one. And with this one, a lot of people have that problem. If they're not used to it and then they start using it, it's never, no matter what one you wear, it's never going to feel good. You have to keep wearing it until it's a part of you. So, I've used this. This is a blue Herco. This tends to fit my thumb profile as well as anything. And so that's why I use it. I shave them down. I'll thin them out a little bit on the bottom and over the top. I'll shorten them a little bit so that I can use them as a flat pick as well. Because the regular way they come without messing with them, they're a little thick and they're a little long and cumbersome. So I need to just adjust them a little bit. But really, I think the trick is find one that fits you the best. And it may not be what you are really comfortable with, but find the most comfortable one find the one that you're most comfortable with, and then just keep wearing it and keep playing with it. Because I've played with this. I've played with a thumb pick. Oh, I don't know. I started when I was about 5. I probably put on a thumb pick when I was 7 or something like that. I really can't remember, but once you start doing it, it becomes a part of you, an extension. I've actually got used to not playing with the thumb pick as well, just because, and that's really just habit. That's because it wasn't in my pocket at the time when a guitar was near and I just picked up the guitar. So I just figured, well, I'll just play without a thumb pick and just get used to doing that, because it's a different sound, it's a different feel. But the only way to really get comfortable with it is to do it just like anything else, really. Eventually it will feel like an extension of you, but no matter which one you try, you won't get on with it until you just get used to it, I think is what it is. You're never going to find one that you like straight away. Anyone else? Anyone else mess with the thumb pick? It's worth checking out, just for different styles, for a different feel. There's certainly a lot you can do with it. As, things like does anyone mess with those? You can do that without a thumb pick, and if you've got a good fingernail, it's worth messing with as well. The thumb pick sticks out of the side. So it's kind of got this natural attack as it sticks out. You're basically playing harmonics and regular notes. Yeah, that's kind of handy for that. It's handy for the bass attack, really. And it's handy if you want to go from finger picking into flat picking. And so on. So I'm kind of using it as a flat pick and thumb picking like that. So it's kind of handy for that. But again, there's certain things that it's just not the same as using a regular flat pick for playing rhythm guitar or just strict flat picking. There's just a certain feel and sound that a flat pick will get that a thumb pick won't. All right. Any other questions?
Question from online. Just anything about playing bossa or samba?
Anything about playing?
Bossa or samba?
Not my area, really. Yeah, not my area, really. Samba, I guess it's a feel, you know, you wouldn't change the techniques much. Just different. I can't say that it's a style I've studied a lot of. It's a bossa or samba. You know, there's, I studied a little, and so there's a Jorge Merle tune. It's called, what was that called? I'll think of it. Danza Brasileira, which is kind of like, it's a Brazilian samba bossa kind of a thing. He wrote that, but I learned a few of those tunes, but I wouldn't say I've immersed myself in it. I haven't gone to Brazil and studied like some guys might do, you know, and really kind of immerse yourself in the music. But you know, that's the extent of my bossa backup playing. You know, and I'm kind of, you can see what I'm doing with my thumb. If I've got a bass player and a drummer, I may just do that, because if I'm playing the bass, that may be getting in the way of what the bass player is doing. So again, if it's just me and one other person, I'm going to play a little more. It's kind of a great example of somebody that played less, as there were more people in the band, was Freddie Green. You know, him playing just rhythm, just playing one string rhythm, which yeah, I'm playing even more notes. You kind of need that arch top, so you just grab one string. But that Freddie Green style, which is kind of, has become like the New York archtop style of rhythm playing. A guy like Frank Vignola is great at that. James Chirillo plays with, I think, the Lincoln Center with Winton. You know, he's the guy that plays that style of rhythm. And again, the bigger the band, the less Freddie Green figured he needed to do. So instead of like gypsy jazz, where you're playing like the whole chord, you don't need to do that, because there's already so much going on. So you're just kind of holding the groove together. But again, yeah, even with bossas or sambas, I always find it in a piano trio as well. You've got the bass player, you've got the drummer, and the piano player is playing all these chords. So if you're the guitar player, you haven't really got a lot to do. You're best kind of stay out the way and play the odd, you know. just playing 1 and 2 notes and just so it sounds like there's a guitar in the band rather than actually playing a part, because all you're doing is getting in the way of the piano player, or unless he's playing real sparse chords like if the piano player is playing that, then you can play you can be playing the chords with the drummer, but you've got to kind of communicate with each other or be looking at each other. It depends what kind of a texture you want, but if you've got that sorted out to start with rather than playing on top of each other, it's always good. But again, for me, I don't have to worry so much about that, because when you're playing solo, you kind of got to fake the fact that there is no band and kind of try to play all the parts, or as close to them as you can, at least fake it. The thumb picking exercises are always good because you got that ragtime Kentucky thumb picking bottom end. So that's really the point of thumb picking, is that it's a solo style. All right, let me play something else here. Here we go. I'll play an old cowboy tune. We'll go to South Texas. I think this is an Irish melody, actually. Irish melody. I think they set this old cowboy poem. I don't know who wrote it. And you can kind of see how this works as a solo. Oh yeah, sorry, am I in the way of myself again? All right. Yeah, there we go. Let me do that. You're over here. So you can see what I do with this one. All right, thanks. Who recognized that tune? Anyone recognize that one? What's it called? You've heard it though, right? It's called The Streets of Laredo. It's an old cowboy tune. Marty Robbins did it way back in the 60s. It's kind of an old folk tune. I think it was a poem that they set. But did anyone notice how it worked as a waltz? So what I'm basically kind of like playing a bass. I'm playing the thirds. Play with a bass on the bottom. 1, 2. Rather than I'm kind of implying that. Sometimes I'm playing it, sometimes I'm not, but if you kind of imply it with the time. Playing those horn voicings, which I finish with. You've heard those kind of what do you call that? Horn voicings. They're like fanfare voicings. Playing tense. And at the opening. The bass is going up. The melody's going up, the bass is going down. Actually, that's also going up in 6. That little ending, Chet Atkins did this, little Chopin ending. Make sure you got 22 frets. Otherwise, you can't do that. If you're in D, I'd say get 22 frets. That way, when you've got a drop D, at least you've got that high D up there. Have you got 22? You got it. The telly. As the Les Paul got it, you got 22. Good. I mean, it's not imperative. You don't have to play that song, All right, any questions about what I've done so far? All right. I'll play another tune. Let me see. I'll talk a little bit about ear training here. How many of you are playing by ear? How many of you are reading specifically? Everyone, mostly. I have to say, I hate to admit it, at a music school of all places, but I'm not a good reader. I can read well enough to write cello parts for my wife. I never really practiced reading as in sight reading. But I did learn by ear. And of course, when you're learning by ear to start with, you know a certain amount. And then when you're learning something new, instead of playing what it is, you tend to play what you know. So you play it wrong because you haven't learned that voicing yet and your ear isn't recognizing it. I'll give you an example here. Again, as I was saying, my musical background was finger picking. It was Chet Atkins, Jerry Reed, a little bit of Joe Pass, Merle Travis, some Django Reinhardt and whatnot. But various country players. There was a little ragtime tune. It was called All Thumbs. It was written by a guy by the name of Mark Cass Stevens, who is a session guy. He's a studio musician in Nashville. I worked out that tune like this. When I first started, okay. That's what I was doing to start with, because that's what I knew. I knew this chord, I knew this chord, and I knew that chord, and I knew everything that I had learned. I was putting a square peg in a round hole, and I was kind of guessing how it went. But then I saw a guy playing it correctly. Let me see. Oh, I know. I saw a guy playing it correctly, and I thought, I've been doing it wrong all this time. And instead of going for the music, I thought, I've got to just listen harder to what it is, because I realized I wasn't just playing it badly, I was playing it wrong. I was going for the wrong frets. Some of them were the wrong notes, some of them were the right notes on the wrong strings, but all those kind of things made a big difference to the way the song sounded. And the whole point of the song, especially on a guitar, you can write something on a piano, the tone of each note is the same. Whereas with the guitar, it's a little different. You would write a song like this. This is what I was doing with the capo. I was doing that, but here's how it went. Difference. What's the difference? Can anyone point out specifically what any of those differences are?
Sustain of the notes.
Sustain, right, exactly, like this. Well, straight away there, we got playing like that. And also, it's actually, I wasn't hearing that because I didn't know this. I'm a little out of tune still. That just sounds so much better. It sounds like it was written to do this. It sounds like that's the whole point, rather than, I wouldn't write something like that. At least he wouldn't. That also, the melody isn't always on the top. We've got this little sustaining note. So what that song really taught me, that song I probably spent more time on than any other song for getting it right. It's a song I'd learned before, but when I realized I'd learned it wrong, it made me not want to find out what was right, but it made me want to listen harder. And what I would do is, there's a little, I didn't know the augmented chord at this point. I didn't even know that. I was playing this, whereas the lick, that note was in there, but I wasn't hearing it. But I knew there was something in there that I wasn't hearing. So at this point, it was a cassette tape I was listening to and winding it back. And I'd wind it back to that and I'd stop it right after that note had been played. And I'd be like vocalizing that note. You've all done that, right? It's all right. You feel like there's something wrong with you, right? It's like, what's wrong with, what am I doing this? But no, you have to vocalize it in order to hear it. You can hear that note in there somewhere. And if it's not on the top or the bottom, it's harder to hear. The bottom note is always the easiest to hear, and the top note's always the easiest to hear. That's what I would do, was, okay, what's the top note? What's the bottom note? Now I've only got 2 fingers left and they can't be that far away. The notes, that's the way I was thinking about it. if this, it's only going to be one of these.
Yeah.
So which one is it? And you'd start hunting and pecking. And that's what I was doing. And I think you have to do that. It's not the easiest way to do it, but if there's something that you're doing that is difficult, it means there's a skill that you can develop. And listening to those inner voices is was the key to that. And I'd stop it right there. What is that? You vocalize it, you listen, then you hunt and peck, and there it is. You throw that in the chord, and sometimes it's, wow, there's a new position, there's a new chord shape I've just learned, and these little light bulbs go off, and you think, wow, where else can I put that? And then you look in some book, and it's like page 3 or something. It's like, oh, I could have got it here, but it doesn't matter. You could have got it the easy way. But listening for it, at least you're training your ear, because now you know when that chord comes up again, you'll hear it this time, because that will now be familiar territory. That's really what it is stretching what you know into familiar territory. So what was once difficult becomes easy. Actually, that's an old Guy Van Duser. Anyone familiar with him? Guy Van Duser, great finger pick. He's Boston. He's the other side. He's teaching at Berkeley. Boo. He's teaching there. He's a professor of fingerstyle guitar. He's talks about an old Chinese proverb, which is to do with painting, brush strokes, just practicing brush strokes, and it goes for anything. Same with anything. It's practice until what was once difficult becomes easy. Then practice until what was once easy becomes habit. Then practice until what was once habit becomes beautiful. And that's, you've heard your favorite players, and it's just the music coming out and everything's flowing, and there's nothing that seems like it's a struggle. And, George Benson is like that. It's like all of those licks are just like, it's in the pocket, it's in the groove. There's nothing about anything that he's doing that he seems like he's in the least bits. It's all coming from here to here. There's nothing that's even slightly difficult. It's just pocket and it's groove, and that's just doing it and doing it and doing it. I mean, he was playing when he was a kid. He was playing bebop and listening to Wes Montgomery, just killing it. As far as flowing, grooving in the pocket stuff, and any of your favorite players will be doing that. I've got a bunch of favorite players, but anyone who's really playing that music, it's just practice and practice, but it doesn't seem like it's hard work. If you're finding that the practice is a better practice, and you don't really want to do it, I think, you got to love it. I think you've really got to love it in order to do it. And, anyway, that tune, All Thumbs, that made me want to listen harder and figure out what to listen for. And as I said earlier, listening for the low notes. The melody sticks out generally, it's obvious. Then listen for the bass note. What's the lowest note? Then what are the in-between notes? What are the open strings? It's just very different. So that's what that taught me. And then I think I remember going over some other tunes that I had learned and kind of reworking those and listening harder. And the more I did it, the more my ear just developed until I was hearing things more accurately, instead of just hearing the very basic cage system, which is still a great system. Everyone familiar with the cage system? I mean, that to me is how I navigate the fretboard. Even the cage system, and every other chord, to me, every other chord shape is somehow related to one of those chords. It's a derivative of it, or at least that's a way to think of it. Okay, let me see here. I figured this one. Thanks. Thank you, folks. Eleanor Rigby, of course. I had to work that one out, or at least I did a little gig in Canada at the end of last year. There was a guy painting, and he was wearing a blindfold, and he painted Ringo Starr with a blindfold on because he knew again, practicing the muscle movements, he knew where he was. And he did John Lennon Upside Down. And I did about 18 minutes of Beatles tunes. And that was one I decided I was going to work up. I knew a bunch, but I needed maybe another couple more. And I remember working that one up. And my wife is a cellist. So, of course, that's got plenty of cello on it. So, I'm going. As soon as I went, she's like, no, you can't do that. It's like you guitar players always do that. She's like, no, get rid of that guitar thing, play the melody. So that, I could hear myself. I was in the living room. She's laying in the bedroom watching TV and going, no, and just like shouting at me. And I totally felt like I was being judged from the other room. But anyway, little Eleanor Rigby there. I'm kind of faking the string part. Basically, I've got, again, that finger picking thing. That's all that's going on. I've just got that one thing going on, which I think is the cello is rough. I could probably get a little bit more fancy with it if I listened to the original a little bit more. But that's kind of, if you hold it down simple like that. I've just got thirds going on in the melody. That's all that is. And the other part. That's the cello part. I've got this going. That little thing. These little, it's a little bit of overtone there. I decided to do that instead of, I went, just makes it a little bit more interesting. Could have done that, keep it kind of solid. Anyway, that's the gist of that. Fairly simple. I didn't do much with it really. I did change the key. I think the original may be D minor, is it E minor? I can't remember now. But that just fell in my lap in A minor, good old A minor. Any questions about that? Have a go at that. That's a fairly simple arrangement. Couple of little awkward parts, but have a go at this is being recorded, right? Right, I can do that real slow if you like. You saw the performance. I'll just play slow into the camera here. Here we go. Let's get this one. There you go. That's kind of faking the cello part a little bit. The guitar there. second time round. It repeats, and this part. There's that descending line. Bass, the lead is on the bass strings. Same again. That other part. The ending. Just kind of put that lick in. Just thought it'd be more interesting than just if I do a little like that. So with all of that, you should be able to get it. How are we doing, guys? I've got no idea. How long have I done? I don't know. I'm good.
There's a question about, like, how would you play that? Would it be something or imagine?
Oh yeah. I've probably played. Yeah. How do you come up with your own arrangements? Well, again. Okay. You know, I've kind of done Imagine. I've done that with a drop D. You know, drop D is always, if the key of D works, it's always nice because you got a really low one chord, and it's always just a little stronger than a low E chord because you're getting into that territory. That's the easy part. Okay, that right there. There's your bass player right there. So your thumb, you might do a little bit of a what do you call that? A mordant. You don't want to overdo the mordants because that's just overdoing it. You might do something like that just so that you're not hanging on. Okay, so your bass is now descending. What would you do if you're a rhythm player backing up a vocalist? problem with that. Ba, 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 ba. That one comes off of there. Let me try and figure out a better way. I've always played it like this, but now I'm showing it to you. I'm going to try and figure a better fingering. See, I'm having to let go of that melody note. So I've got that here. I really want, is really what I want. Maybe I could make the change there. Maybe there. Something like that, you know. I'm just trying to refinger it so that it sounds a little smoother. These are the kind of details I sometimes look for after the fact. If I'm coming up with a quick version, then it repeats. Then it goes. Maybe it depends whether you want that dominant seventh in there. Maybe I already want that. Okay, so how do we finger that? Maybe I want that. Maybe what I want that. You can see how I'm thinking here, right? I've got to get all the bass notes in, and I've got to get all the melody notes in and the other notes over. I'm not sure if that works. A good fingering. Kind of. Maybe there. Could do that. Different ways of approaching it. Can you see these fingerings I'm kind of experimenting with? I mean, if I was playing it straight away, if you just called it and I've got to come up with an instant, I might not even try. If you're playing with a band, then it's a whole different thing. Whereas if you're playing it solo, you've got to look for these bass notes. Maybe there. Maybe go back down to that octave. But see, if I do that, I can't reach these bass notes. It's going to sound a little bit music boxy if I go up into that higher register. So I'd rather go into the bottom register. And so on. But that's how I would approach that. I've kind of done that before. Let It Be is a different thing. Let me think. Picking the key. Picking the key is key. Because you don't want the melody staying too high up the fretboard, because then you can't reach the bass notes. You don't really want the melody going too low into the bass strings, because then the melody is interfering with the bass. Has anyone run into those problems before? Trying to figure out solo arrangements. And some songs are more difficult than others like that. Some songs, if they've only got like a 5-6 note register, you can play them in various keys and they might work. Try Bridge Over Troubled Water, and there isn't a really good way of doing that really works very well. You have to kind of do octave drops because it's not a piano. You know, with the piano, you've got access to all the bass notes and all the treble, whereas with the guitar, you haven't always got that. Certainly with the 6-string, that's where a 7-string comes in useful. Not just because you got a lower note, but it's you've got lower notes while you've got access to the higher notes. That's why people play 8 and 10-string guitars, but I'm not going to do that now. Not on my age. I've already chosen my path. Let me think. Let It Be. Okay. Anyone want to have a go at that? Yeah. Let me think. How's it go? Bam, bam. No. How's it go? I'd have to listen to it now. I'm looking at you. You look like you might know. That's right, yeah. Okay, I think that's the kickoff. What's the first melody? See, already. See, I'm already getting too high or too low. So A is not a good key. I've already figured that out. Have you got it? Or is that something else? Here we go. It's in C. Okay, there we go. Okay, so one more time. I ought to know this at my age. Okay, man. Okay, man. It goes back to C though. I'm going wrong somewhere. What you got? Okay, I've got to hear it. I think I had it in the other key, but I'm not sure exactly. We'll figure out the melody first. We'll get to that part in a minute because we've got to figure out where the melody lies so that the bass works. Okay, so
When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. And when the broken-hearted people living in the world agree.
See, I don't even know if I'd put it in that key for the guitar, but so I'm playing these thirds. Kind of a G over an E I'm playing. I mean, that's basically what I would be doing. There's not a lot to do with the bass. You think, maybe even D. We're back to good old D. There, that's my problem. Okay. There we go. I think D is going to be the best key for it. You see how I found it there just by kind of trial and error, because now I've got plenty of low and the melody doesn't go too high and it doesn't go too low into the bass strings. See, when I was in C, it's just getting down a little bit lower than I want. I find myself a little bit restricted because there's my lowest note. Let me see. E. See, I'm already going up there. I think D is the one. Just where the melody lays. Are you all kind of seeing how I'm figuring this out? It's taken me a little while. I mean, if you know your basic major scale, it's all you need to know. So, I don't think I figured out that first bit yet, but I'd have to listen to it. Nah. It starts on the. That's it. There it is. Excuse me. starts on the 4 chord, right? Yeah. That's no good. Yeah, it starts on the. Is that? I'm not sure which one it is. It's one or the other. And so on. Anyway, that's kind of I was struggling there a little bit on, but it was the 4 chord. Yeah, I couldn't remember it started. I was starting on the 1 and then going down and ending up in a different key. I knew something was off. Thank you. Anyway, that's kind of how I come to. It's the same with the Joplin rags as well. Those are not easy to figure out. You got a bunch of bass notes, the rhythm parts, and you got to kind of figure it all up. There's a YouTube, it was coming up with the other parts. The Entertainers, anyone seen that video? That's kind of done the rounds a little bit. And the first 2 parts were basically a John Knowles, Chet Atkins arrangement. And there's different ways to do it. Those are kind of the obvious parts. Then I had to find these other parts. I have to look for those. So I've only got 1 beat to play that 1 chord. This. That took some practice. So basically I practiced this. Until I've got that 1 move. That is. So I know that note is on the 14th fret and I know it's coming from here. There's my bass note here. So I just put it on a practice loop. Do that very slowly. And do this. And put them together. So you're not really playing music at this time. I mean, you're just training your muscles to behave, is all it is. Really, I think technique can be learned by anyone. It's what notes are you going to play? That's kind of where the creativity is. But practicing the actual execution of it is it's just like going to the gym, really. Put that on a metronome and it'll just get better and better. So and so on. But that's basically what I did. There were most arrangements that I've done, the more you learn, the more you play, the easier it is to learn new stuff because it's not really new. It's just repurposed or just, different application for the same set of scales or moves or whatever. When you're really learning something new, that's when you have to basically slow down as if it's your first lesson and be in like beginner mode again. Like that one move. My fingers didn't want to do that. Just, you know, you just kind of search and destroy. I know what I'm aiming for. I just practice doing it. So that's, you know, that's what takes the time. So most of that arrangement kind of fell into place. It was just the odd little fingering here and there that was the awkward parts that I had to figure out. I've got another example of that. In fact, is everyone familiar with the, I think it was 1979, 78, 79, Robert De Niro, Christopher Walken, The Deer Hunter. Has anyone seen that? All right, it's an old one. Great theme tune. And actually, Tommy Tedesco played on the session. It's a well-known, it became a hit for John Williams. It's called a Cavatina. Oh, excuse me. There we go. You heard this one before? Okay, so it gets to this part. And there was this part. So basically in the original, John Williams is just playing this. Just playing, it's just a two guitar thing. And it was Tommy Tedesco that was playing the arpeggio, because that was the left hand of the piano. It was originally a piano piece, and written by Stanley Myers. So then John Williams did this solo version. And so on. And it gets to this part. And I wanted an extra bass note in there. I wanted it to do this. But here, I had to use bad technique to get it. I had to use this part of my finger to slide, because the arpeggio goes like this. So I had to do this. Okay, you see what the problem is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I practiced this. Just getting from these two fingers to these two fingers. Then that was the next move. Then it was getting from one to the other. That's what I was practicing. Then it was widening the practice loop again. And so on. You just do it, and the slower you do it, it's almost like the harder it gets. And so you practice that until you can do it 10 times in a row without messing it up. And then you know it's reliable, and the fingering is reliable. And that's just kind of how I go about practicing something new that my fingers just don't want to do. It's just, you know, you're basically slowing it down. Anything new that you practice, just put it on that metronome and really slow it down. Your fingers will do it. Eventually, you just got to kind of get into the gym mode, taking your fingers to the gym. Any questions about that? That's just kind of the hard work part. That's the part that, you know, you kind of can't, it's not the creative part, it's the craft rather than the art. You know, it's getting your idea to sound good. Right? That's the way I look at it anyway. Any questions, guys? All right. All right, let me see. I'll play maybe another old standard. Thank you. Anyone know the title of that song? There you go. Polka Dots and Moonbeams. Jimmy Van Heusen. He was pretty much Frank's personal songwriter. Wrote a lot of songs for Frank Sinatra. Anyone notice anything about what I was doing there? Oh, sorry? Doing the play it a couple of times. Yeah, a couple of different keys. Started off in like a free time. There's a few contrary motion. I got that from Lenny Bro, I think. That's like a Lenny Bro type. It's basically 1-6-2-5 kind of. Let me think the words. A country dance was being held in a garden. I felt a bump and then actually I think it goes. I felt a bump and then oh, beg your pardon. Suddenly I saw polka dots and moonbeams all around a pug-nosed dream. The music, I can't remember how the words go now, but it's basically a 1-6-2-5. But you're playing these other substitutions or just kind of moving chords. That's a typical move, like 2-5-2-5. Just another, it's like a Joe Pass thing. I think was a bunch of people did that. I'm sure before him. Just different kind of improvisational ways of playing that. These are kind of licks that I might use anywhere, just blues licks or connecting things. Then went to the key of D and back to the 5. But kind of a simple change. Different ideas you can throw in. different ideas you can throw in there that you can throw into any song. I mean, I think with the more standards you learn like that, if you learn from people like Joe Pass, Ted Green, I mean, there's Martin Taylor, there's Pasquale Grasso is kicking butt right now. Brilliant player. Check him out if you haven't seen him. Just different ideas that you can steal from anybody, and you can use those licks, 1, 6, 2, 5 connecting licks, which will work all over the place. Any questions? What have we done? We're nearly there. Shall I play one more, or are you guys eager to get out of here? I'll do one more. Yeah. Any questions at all? Yeah.
Yeah, so your hand is moving like very freely across the fretboard. I know you said you referenced the cage system a lot.
Yeah.
Did you ever do any other kind of extensive dive into different voicings?
Most of my learning really was learning repertoire, and when I started learning, I wasn't even referencing the cage system. I was literally, I didn't even know what I was doing. I just knew I was learning those particular tunes. And this is where I put my fingers for this tune. Now, I didn't know where I was. So if I messed up, I had no reference. This was just how that was when I started. Then once I started learning about chords and the system and a little bit more about theory and harmony, then what I was doing made more sense. So I was I kind of got ahead of myself. I didn't learn technique and theory before I learned tunes. So I kind of learned tunes before I got into that. And I think that was okay. It was okay to do that. But then I learned really the cage system just scales within that, really. The cage system, the way I look at it, I mean, I'm learning the cage system, the scales within it, and licks within that, kind of licks and ideas within that. And I'll play around with that. But no, I haven't really gone that route as far as learning. It's good to do that. I mean, I would say there are a lot of different ways to get from A to B. And the more ways you know, the more sense the fretboard will make to you, because everyone's got their own path that they learned. And I think they're all valid, because if everyone learns the same way, then everyone will sound the same. And I think the idea is to kind of borrow and steal from everybody, and that way you'll learn more. You'll just learn more ways of doing things and more ways of thinking in terms of improvisation, in terms of using scales or licks, devices, as Dick Hyman calls them. Everyone familiar with Dick Hyman? Great piano player. He's probably 92 now, and he came up. They call him the honky tonk professor, because he was around in the days when stride piano and that was being invented. And he came up through stride, and then he was around during the Art Tatum years, and so he kind of moved with the times, moved through bebop and modern styles of jazz piano, and he kind of knows everything. Anyone heard of Dick Hyman? All right, check him out, Dick Hyman. And he's in his 90s now, but he's still around, and he was around when it was happening. He played with Benny Goodman in the 50s. He lives in Florida now, and he was a studio musician in New York in the 60s, doing all kinds of stuff, playing B3, playing jazz, playing pop, and now he does a performance called 100 Years of Jazz Piano, and he goes through the styles, through the eras. I haven't seen that performance myself, but I'd like to, because it's good stuff. All right, let me see. All right, I'll play you. Let me see. I'll play some Jerry Reed to finish off as I started. I'll play a little medley here. All right, little Jerry Reed medley there was drive-in, funky junk, and then Jerry's breakdown, kind of banjo rolls and some thumb picking and some Ray Charles type stuff as well. Kind of that medley kind of encompasses the styles of Jerry Reed there. All right, hope you have learned something. I'll make sure I put an email. Yeah, let me know who to send that to, and I'll make sure everyone gets it. All right, Carol Ann, who's that at the back there? It is. I can barely got the lights in my eyes. All right, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Hope you got something out of it, and I'll send stuff on. Thank you.